Thank you very much for honoring our invitation to be here. A special thank you to our distinguished guests and especially our speakers for today. I was surprised that my profile was read out because actually my job is going to be a brief one, just to talk about the reason why we're here. And as an aside, when it occurred to me that in this meeting I'm seeing pastors, I'm seeing lawyers, I'm seeing accountants, I realized they crack a lot of jokes about bankers, about lawyers especially, and priests. But I won't go into the jokes. It's just that it's a bit threatening to see a combination of those professionals. Because there are people that can decide whether you go to heaven or hell. The Christian Financial Accountability Association came to be because some people came together some time ago, just in response to the cry of the public. People were beginning to ask questions. So what's happening in the churches? What are they doing with our money? These churches are now business centers. The pastors are getting richer, church members are getting poorer, and all that. The group of people that came together consists of lawyers, accountants, a theologian, and pastors. The lawyers helped us to understand the legal requirements for the running of organizations, for profit and non-profit in our country, and the steps that government is taking to enforce the laws. The accountants helped us to understand there are basic requirements for accountability and for transparency, and that government is also taking steps to enforce. Some time ago, we had the Financial Reporting Council, and even though it's gone quiet, they made us to realize the council is still working, and that before long, they would come up again with the codes. And we realized, okay, the reason why we had practically every sector of the economy had issues with the council before was because they did not consult with the stakeholders. The approach, what went wrong with that approach, we are bearing in mind. The council itself is changing its approach. It's engaging with different sectors. And we found out from our sector, there probably isn't any informed position or structure to engage the council constructively. The theologian helped us to look in the Bible and made us realize, first, stewardship is a basic value in scriptures. It laces most of the parables of Jesus Christ. Secondly, not only should we value stewardship, it should also find its way into our doctrines and our teachings. The theologian said, wrong doctrine will lead to wrong belief, and that wrong belief must produce wrong behavior. That there is a need for us to even discuss our revelations, like they did in Acts of the Apostles. So before you get one deep revelation nobody has ever gotten before, at least bring it, let's discuss. They did in Acts 15. They did some debating, and eventually they took a position. Okay? And then the whole church moved forward. That decision in Acts 15 moved the whole church forward in God's agenda. So that's how we decided to form this organization. The Christian Financial Accountability Association is a self-regulatory association of churches and Christian organizations. So when we say churches and Christian organizations, we mean that you have schools, for example. You can have healthcare organizations, some founded by churches, some founded by Christians, but basically non-profit. We are dedicated to facilitating financial accountability, ethical and governance standards, as well as biblical doctrine. Most of what we're going to do will be education. Most of what we're going to do will be education. And as we do that, we bear in mind that that's the way you shift culture. What we are dealing with is a cultural issue. It's not something that is about churches only or ministries. Sincerely speaking, the issue of having governance systems in organizations, the African needs to learn how to build lasting organizations. Why is it that most of our businesses either die before us or die with us? Where are the businesses that were founded over 100 years ago? I've been asking that question now for a long time. Founded by Africans. The ones we have in our country, for example, were established by Europeans, both churches and businesses. So we need to tweak something. And when you read the Bible as the church, it says that God decided through the foolishness of preaching, okay, which is education, spiritual education, to transform the world, to bring salvation. Israel expected Jesus to come fighting the Roman government. He was preaching and teaching because he knew until you change a person's belief systems and the person's values, you cannot change the person's behavior on a sustainable basis. So most of what we'll be doing will be education. Okay? Bearing in mind that this is a cultural issue. Beyond that, we're going to be providing tools that will help churches and Christian organizations to set up proper accountability systems, proper governance systems, proper financial systems. We are aware most churches are too poor to afford an accountant. So at a basic level, a pastor's got to understand just basic accounting. Sitting on the board of trustees of Daystar Christian Center has, for some 24 years now, has been equivalent to spending years in a business school because the other members of the board are business people. When we started out, they were using terminologies I did not understand. Should I give you an example? Should I confess? Because this one is tantamount to confession. Okay. After the first year of the church, we decided to create a budget for the second year. I worked with fellow pastors, to create the budget. We called it the budget of faith. I presented it to the board of trustees. I mean, it was a high figure. The income was based on faith. Of course, the expenses, you don't need faith for that. When I presented it to the board asked, where's the report of the income for the previous year? They looked at it. They said, well, we want to thank the senior pastor for working hard to produce this faith budget. So one of the members said, I want to suggest that we create two budgets. That we have this budget of faith and that we create a second one that will be based on the actual income for last year so that we just project a little increase on the income of last year. Said because the challenge that we see is that since the income is based on faith, we're going to be spending by faith. And that if the faith income doesn't come this year, it will still come in the future, but if it doesn't come this year, we'll be spending more than. God bless. What a wise way to say, Pastor, this is a rubbish budget. I got the message. We went and created another budget. So I'm saying, look, I studied engineering. I'm not an accountant. At a basic level, most pastors, most churches don't have a clue. We're going to be providing templates, creating templates. Just fill in the blanks. And then you have something basic, so that you can at least record what is coming in, record what is going out. Not that the offering came on Sunday, collected it, counted it, pastor took it home. By Monday, from there, they go to the market to buy light bulb, or buy batteries. At a basic level, we're going to leverage technology. We're going to use every tool God will give us to make it easy, because most churches are small, and they will not grow big without order. You take your clothes, throw them into a bag without folding them. The bag will take fewer clothes than it will take if you fold those clothes neatly and put them in that bag. Order creates room for increase. We believe God that once we get it right with the church, and the people that work in the society come from the church, that it will be a shift, not only for the church, but for Christians and for our nation and for Africa as a whole. I want to say a big thank you to you for coming. And I pray today will make a big difference in our individual lives and the organizations that we run. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put hands together once again for the senior pastor, Vista Christian Center, Dr. Sam Adeyemi.